Welcome back, traders and investors. We have Alan Brochstein of the 420 Investor on. And Alan, before we go on with the normal questions, do you know what tomorrow? Well, it's actually tomorrow's the actual day in Ann Arbor, Michigan, but they're celebrating it over the weekend. And do you know what tomorrow is?
Something with Michigan medical marijuana? I don't know.
It's something that's been going on from the late '60s. It's called the Hash Bash.
There
Yeah.
was a big thing this weekend I heard about from one of our subscribers that was just wild. Maybe in advance of that.
Oh, okay. But Alan, we got some news, and some of the stocks, cannabis got halted last week.
Right. So that was kind of a shocker. That was the fourth halt by the SEC. It was the first one where at least they said something about it, and it was you have to read their uh, I forgot what you call it, notification that came out. It's kind of weird. It came out right before the market opened, and so they talked about security issues with an affiliate, and you can kind of do the research real quick and figure out what's going on. I'm not going to name names, but I think this is a story. I've spoken with not only management but the guys at Full Circle Capital and done a lot of research on this, and it appears that this is related to a problem with the reverse merger potentially. I'm not even sure that it's a real issue, but a potential problem with the reverse merger. The person who put it together may be violating securities laws, and so they halted the whole stock. It's kind of a shock because I know these guys real well. I've actually put them in touch with potential clients. I always get just fabulous feedback, and they're the real deal. So a lot of times scam stocks get halted, and it's like, yeah, no surprise, but this one was a real shocker.
This is still halted here this morning. Do you see this coming out of the halt here today, or is this something that could be halted for a while?
So these things are always a 2 week halt, at least 2 weeks. So it's been
Oh,
halted
two
until,
weeks. So this
that's
is going
right,
to still be halted for how
till,
much longer,
till
at
April
least?
9th. April 9th.
April the 9th. Wow. So, okay. You got to be, it's probably upsetting when you're in West stock. Like, I know I've been in a halted stock before and it gets halted for a couple hours and I get nervous. When you're in something for 2 weeks,
Oh my
it's
God.
probably,
So I mean,
yeah.
we didn't have an official like buy or anything on it, except this is one we really like and everybody knows, and I still like it. You got to roll with the punches on this one, but we did have a trade in Full Circle Capital, which is kind of a derivative. We've talked about that before, and the minute I found out about it, I sold it.
Holy cow.
I know not everybody was able to get out, but we ended up buying it back at the end of the day. So that's kind of that's FULL. So
Holy
that
cow, do
was
you see that move, Joel? And FULL, that was incredible. I didn't even notice that on Thursday. It had the big washout, where it went down all the way to 666. I remember that was the low in the S&P, 666. That's just a
yeah,
big
right. I
number.
remember that.
So on
Yeah.
Thursday, were you that nimble? You were able to when
You
you
know what? Thank God. She doesn't want me to name her, but one of our subscribers Skyped me and said, "Hey, what's going on with CANN?" And I looked real quick, and I was like, "Holy cow!" And I knew immediately. I mean, this is what people pay me for. I said, "We've got to get out of full." So I put in the order. We sold the full. I'm sorry. I know that not everybody was able to get out, and I feel badly about that. But it kind of broke through the support
Oh
level I
yeah,
mentioned,
yeah.
and it plunged. I kept everybody informed. I made a bunch of calls, and later in the day, when I felt like I had a better understanding for the situation, and obviously the price had fallen, we were able to enter. I forget the exact price, but around 734 or 5. So almost back to where we bought in on January 22nd for the first time, which was around 713 or so. But we'll see. I'm very confident that this can situation can be resolved, if
Okay.
that makes sense. So
But
it's very unsettling. It's a great reminder to everybody that penny stocks have inherent risks. We talk about it all the time. I do a lot of due diligence. I did not uh, investigate this person that did the reverse merger. I'm not even sure he did anything wrong, quite frankly, but I've kind of put it together, and I believe that somebody tipped off the SEC. This person had a history back to 1995, and maybe the SEC was on high alert because of that. I've talked to the SEC before, tried to. They don't even pick up my calls. So, on the one hand, I'm glad to see the SEC actually being proactive on something, but I don't know about this one. So,
Alan, I
yeah,
just got a question here because this full, it kind of had like options, right? To like buy
right.
can, was it
They had a
not? So,
million warrants at 550, and then uh, there's pending deals where they could get another million and a half shares
s-
at $5 through a convertible. So a
okay.
lot of value. A lot of
So I'm
equity.
just trying to figure this out. So okay, so if they just have warrants, so they really don't have any that much exposure to the downside of Can.
They have
Let's
no
just say in a
downside.
worst case scenario that
Worst case
Can went out of
scenario, the
business.
stock should be about $7 roughly. That would be the NAV of the.
Yeah, so okay, so their warrants are basically worthless. There's still an underlying company here with Bull though. That's
Correct.
got other.
FULL just sold shares. I forgot the price, but in the eights. I don't like 860. I forgot the exact price, but to $600,000 worth of stock to institutional shareholders. I mean, they were totally blindsided themselves, and these guys are obviously they have better diligence than I do, and I'm not trying to put the responsibility on them, but just to point out that FULLs and institutional investors, those are we were all kind of caught off guard on this one.
Because I'm just wondering, if they don't have that much downside down in the whole lower sevens here, if this is not just like a low risk buy, because obviously they had a whole business. I'm just looking back at the charts before even this cannabis came into play. This stock, the year and a half ago was out and it was 668 was a low and 660.73 and 666. It looks to me like that whole great support down there in the lower sevens. So if this
I
thing
think if you're
pull back
looking for optionality, it is. I mean, I'm not positive that this can is going to end well. I hope it does, but if can ends well, quite frankly, uh, where the stock was trading previously, you can make the case that when those notes go through, when they make the loans, that the stock could have been worth theoretically $14, but I don't think it would have gotten there. But we were looking for like $10, and I think that could still be on. So yeah, you could buy it. I've been telling our people not to necessarily pay 788 or wherever it closed, but where we put it on makes sense to buy with a little bit of downside and hopefully some upside. But I see some questions coming. Should we look at something
Yeah,
else?
Yeah,
let's
there's all
go.
kinds of
Yeah,
questions.
let's before we go into the Canadian situation here, let's just take a look at PHOT, Grow Life here. This is a lower price stock,
Right.
obviously.
They're
What?
going to report today. They're one of the sector leaders. We full disclosure, well, I'll tell you, I sold the whole position. I have it's a trading portfolio. It's not an investment portfolio. And we sold the whole position, oh, Tuesday, a week ago, or no, I don't even remember the day now. It's all rolling together. But uh, an unsettling situation with a partner of theirs where they were sued and over this pending deal. And so I got nervous and hit the bid real fast at 61. The thing ended up dropping as the news disseminated. And that was another example of, trying to read the tea leaves pretty quickly for everybody. And it turned out that they settled their differences. Apparently, the lawsuit was dropped, deals on, or it's supposed to close next week. And so we got back in. So full disclosure, we have a pretty big position there, 54, 55 cent entry. And this is, if you look at TRTC, TRTC and PHOT are two of the SEC filers that are very highly regarded by most people, especially on 420 Investor. And TRTC has just been a rocket for various reasons. I think it was less appreciated than Grow Life, but Grow Life is definitely one of the leaders in the space. They have a nice business model. There's been some questions. They've been kind of slow to share their gift programs. They announced one with in Denver, not in Denver, in Colorado. That was their first kind of official one. They have this project in Canada with FITX. I think everybody wants to see more of that from them. I hope that they will. I don't have any real insight on that, but just knowing the company, I would expect to see more deals, and that's what people are waiting for.
And what's PH? What are they looking for on the street?
Nobody, there's no estimates or anything out there. I think
Okay.
uh, I'm looking for them not to get halted. I'll be happy, right?
Okay, that's a good approach,
No,
Alan.
the serious answer is that it's really about the forward guidance. And so we're talking about December. Remember that Colorado didn't even start till January 1st. So a lot of the real activity, Grow Life is going to benefit from build outs. They have a lot going on in Massachusetts right now, from what I can tell. Uh, this Canadian play with FITX, but none of this is going to show up in their pass numbers. So
Right, right,
numbers that
right.
come out really aren't going to matter that much.
So what's going on in Canada? This creative edge nutrition is just kind of hanging in here. Had a
Hanging
run
in
up. Yep.
FITX.
Yeah.
So
What's going on in Canada?
So the laws are changing tomorrow. They have an old program that was really bad. It only served about 35,000 patients. Most people ended up growing their own, created a lot of problem. You had a state monopoly and grow your own. Now they're moving to a situation where they're having it's called MMPR. It kicks in tomorrow. They have, I believe, 13 companies licensed. There'll be more, but essentially this is a kind of like a Colorado story in some ways. No, they don't have legal cannabis in Canada, but they're going to have a medical program that makes it very easy for people to get very high quality cannabis through the mail. Now, the problem is it's only leaf. You can't get concentrates or edibles. So that'll change over time, hopefully. But the thinking here is that you can run the numbers. There's a company called Tweed, for instance. They're going to start trading publicly on Thursday in Canada only. A lot of excitement over this one. They were one of the first ones to get their license. It's a great little story. Now, I'm not saying the value of the stock or anything, but the story itself is very exciting about the revitalization of a town. I think it was a Hershey factory that was converted. But you run the numbers that these companies are talking about, the gross margins and cannabis is very expensive per ounce or per gram. And so the bull story is that you're going to have the black market shift to a legal market. That basically black market users are going to get these medical prescriptions, and the numbers are massive. There's 35 million people in Canada. You can make an estimate. Maybe only 10% of the population uses it, and you can do that math. We're talking about I don't know. I'm coming up with easily an $8 billion a year business divided up among maybe 30 companies. So
What's tweeting? Is it gonna trade on Toronto?
Tweed's going to trade. I think it's called the Venture Exchange,
Right.
not the full exchange. But for people looking at the space right now, there's two companies that we're tracking. Well, FITX is a way to play, obviously. The other two are ATTBF and
ATTBF.
yeah, Abatis. And we did a webinar. Very impressed with the CEO there. And I did an interview on Seeking Alpha, and I don't know this one quite as well, but they have some investments in growers, and the name of that company is Enertopia, ENRT.
ENRT. I'm just trying
I
to
like
check
when those
this.
penny stocks get above $1. I mean, it just it just seems like it just adds a
How
little
about
bit more.
$200? That Canavest got up to 201 or something. Now it's at 30 something. That's a
Right.
bad one. Be careful with that one. Hey, I want to change the topic real quick.
Sure. Go ahead.
So, well, first of all, I wanted to tell you it was really nice to meet you guys 2 weeks ago. And I probably should have mentioned when I was there, I think it was right before that, I made this great decision to focus only on cannabis stocks. So what I'm about to say, you might want to take this into mind. But one of the things I've noticed over the years, and you guys were talking about J&J earlier, going to 100 for the first time. I have something on Motif Investing. I just dropped the link, and this is a pure quantitative model that I've developed. And I'm not doing any research on stocks anymore, but I'm going to keep doing this. And I call it the $100 virgins. J&J didn't make it for, I forget exactly what's missing from J&J, but I love the idea of stocks running up to $100 for the first time. And I just dropped that link if you want to share it. Something to talk about in the future, maybe.
Oh,
Okay,
cool.
definitely keep an eye on that. And let's go. I mean, this is the one that we talk about as far as one of the more legitimate companies in the space. GWPH, GW Pharmaceuticals,
Yeah,
Bank
great
America.
trading stock and great investment at the right time, too.
Yeah, boy, Bank America, boy. Ooh, boy, they put the
Top
top.
ticked it.
Yeah,
Yep.
they did that one a nice one up there.
Did they upgrade at the
They
top?
did. They started covering this thing. I think when they hit 85, and actually
Yeah,
when Alan when I
they're the
hit.
ones that caused the top. Yeah, well, so I always tell my anybody that'll listen to me, the subscribers or anybody, that Wall Street does good research, no doubt, but I never rely on those guys for buy recommendations or targets. That's just not something I think that they're good at. They're really good at kind of understanding the issues for the company, but if they were that good at picking prices, they wouldn't be selling the research like that. They'd be trading the stocks and investing. So that's just something to keep in mind. But it's a biotech. It's very unique. I was at a conference this weekend for one of my former institutional clients. They had about 200 people in the room, and uh, they uh, they explained to the audience that I was going to be transitioning. I was part of their investment team, and they explained to the audience that I was transitioning away from them and focused on cannabis stocks. And I'd say the average age was about 60. And it was funny. Everybody's coming up to me asking what they could buy, and I talked to them about GW. They were all very excited about it, but these were, for the most part, pretty sophisticated investors. And we talked about the valuation. That's really the only thing I think that we can debate about. Other than that, it's a great company. I find biotech valuation very difficult. This thing at the current price is about $1 billion, and in some ways I think that's high, but in other ways, it might not be. If they can really solve. They have the orphan status, or they will be able to obtain the orphan status if they're able to get it through the clinical trials. This is a way off, but if you can solve seizures for children, my gosh, I mean, companies are worth a lot more than that. They can do things like that.
So we've had
Right.
a real significant pullback here, obviously, in the last 2 weeks in this stock. Is this the buying opportunity you think on this one, Alan, or do you think
Well,
it's
I know
got
we got
more
a
to
lot of
pull
our
back yet?
subscribers on. I've been saying 5052 was tested before. You can see it on your chart in February.
Yep.
That level was today. The Seeking Alpha Officialis report came out. I hope Officialis isn't listening, but I don't really care for their work. Uh, I read that article. I thought it was a joke, but Seeking Alpha articles can move the market, and that was a great buy opportunity. We actually had some subscribers buy it at 50. They left their standing order and got filled that day. I think we go back and test that level again. Honest to God, though, you got to do some work off the, at least that bottom in December, and do some Fibonacci retracements, and you'll come up with it. It could go a little bit lower, so I need to put some more thought into that. I don't really want to predict it, but
Okay.
anytime you're trading these stocks, you got to be careful. This thing's run basically from 9 to 90. You could get a little bit more of a pull.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So when you think about it in that perspective, a 30% pullback isn't that much when the thing's up 1,000% here
Right,
over the course of
exactly.
a year.
Right. I just would take a look at this one, this GWPH here, and I do see that bottom. I've looked. I'm looking back on the chart here. It has those bottoms, and then sometimes it gives you another chance to get in at it. And then the last time that it bottomed at the $52 area, it stepped up and made a double bottom ahead of that at the 55, even 55.31 level. So I'll be watching the setup on this one, see if it could hold in there. All
Let me give
right.
you some free advice on this one. If I say to buy it at a price, put in an order about 5% above there.
Well,
It
let me
just
know where your stop is, Alan. Alan, let me know where your stop is. If you're buying at 52 and you got to stop at 47, I'm gonna be in at I'm gonna be in at 46.99.
Hey,
But
hey,
What?
one last piece of intel on that one. Remember, they sold a bunch of shares at $36, a ton. It's not going to go that low, I can promise you. But uh, just keep in mind, all these guys that bought it at 36 and didn't get out in the high 80s, they must be feeling stupid right now, and they're going to feel stupider if it keeps ticking down. So at some point, those guys, need to take their profits if they
who
haven't
bought it at
already.
36?
A lot of people, it was a secondary offering.
Oh, okay, that's a good level. Okay,
Yeah.
Alan, thank
Just one
you.
sec, Joel. Before he goes, the chat is really lighting up with questions for Alan, and I just wanted to get a couple
Okay,
here.
go ahead. Go
Somebody's
ahead.
asking about CANV, and this one's real interesting on the chart because this
Right.
thing obviously got up to like $160. It's back down now here at $38 from
Ooh.
those highs.
I have a value on this one of $3. Okay, stay
You don't
away.
like this one. Stay
I do
away from
not
this
like
one
this one.
because
Exactly.
people
You
like
can
pullbacks. So okay.
read the Forbes article. Read it well. They sold stock at $1. They just finished selling it in March, I believe. I just read the 10K. Their cash flow is terrible. They did 2.1 million in sales in 2013. They have 1.7 million in receivables. Everything they sell is to affiliates, and the affiliates don't pay. So I don't want to. It's I really want to warn people about this as loudly as I can, quite frankly.
How did this thing get to 100 and over 180, Alan?
You know what? Let's just say that one insider was able to sell $7 million worth of stock. He's been the only one that's really been able to pull that off. Uh, I don't want to make wild accusations of how it got up there, but it makes no sense why anybody would run that up that high.
Wow.
Oh,
But I've
that's
been sued for
incredible.
$100 million by another company, so I'll leave it at that.
Okay. I see
Well,
a few questions on MICG.
MCIG, MCIG.
Yes.
Yeah, and we talked about that one before, and it's really gotten advanced in price. It's hard for me to justify the valuation. This is one of the best CEOs in the sector. The company is very easy to understand. It's maybe hard to appreciate because if you look at the numbers right now, it's really a startup, right? They just reported a partial quarter, really. Their first product, a $10 vape pen. You can do the math. They might sell 2 million of these at $10 each. That'd be huge revenue. We'll see how it works out, but they've evolved. They did a small acquisition and now have a tabletop vaporizer called Vapolution, and they also are about to spin out the Vitasig, which is kind of different from their core product, their core focus. So this is a great company. Again, we can argue about the price. I mean the valuation.
Yeah, Vitasig is vitamins through the vapor pen.
Exactly. So nothing to do with cannabis. That's right.
That's interesting. Okay, Alan, we've kept you on a few minutes too long. We'll let you get back to your research there. Thanks for coming on here, our show
Yeah, I
today.
love being with you guys. Thank you very much.
Okay, all right. We'll
Thanks,
have you
Alan.
back soon.
Bye.